Let's be honest, the UFC is in a weird place right now. The fights are still happening. People are still getting finished. The machine is rolling along and profits are sky high. There are still those moments of magic that keep you coming back. But something's off. It just doesn't feel the same anymore. The energy, the hype, the sense that you're watching the best of the best in a high-stakes moment. It's been replaced by something colder, flatter, and frankly, more corporate. We're getting more shows than ever, yes, but it feels like we're getting less value than ever. It feels like there's more value in toe-hold flip-flops. And yeah, I'll keep watching, most of us will, but it's getting harder to defend this version of the UFC when week after week, it seems like nobody at the top cares about the fans, the fighters, or the product. If they don't seem to care, how can the fans be expected to? So, here it is. 5 fixes that could actually turn the UFC around. Not fantasy booking, not wishlist nonsense. Real changes that would improve the experience overnight if they were serious about it. Fix number 1. Promote the fights, like they actually matter. We want a fight promotion to promote fights? F us, right? Right now, fight promotion feels like an afterthought. A few recycled Instagram posts, a countdown episode no one asked for, that follows the same template of training, home life, and family, and maybe a press conference that gives 30 seconds of highlights if the UFC feels generous. But promotion is everything in combat sports, building interest, creating narratives, giving fans a reason to care. That's the entire game, and the UFC used to be elite at it. Remember Jones and Cormier, McGregor's fight weeks, even old school fights like Brock Lesnar and Randy Couture? These felt like events months in the making and really harnessed and utilized the star power of the fighters involved. Storylines that gripped the audience and bled over into the mainstream. What we need is better build-up. Let's go back to the old-style press conferences where every fighter is up on stage at the same time and things felt palpable. Yes, for some major events they still do these, but it's a much more cookie-cutter sanitized version. When things start to get interesting, if they ever do, it's quickly quietened down and order has to be resumed. You get some drunk fans asking nonsense, the company journalists asking Dana why the UFC is so great and nobody can hear what anybody is saying. Let's get back to real questions from independent journalists. Let's let these guys talk, let them go back and forth, and build the drama themselves. It's one thing for the UFC to tell the story of a fight, but it's another thing to let the fighters create one for themselves. Let fighters do face-to-face interviews again, like the face-offs in boxing. Put them in a room, let them talk, disagree, get uncomfortable, get angry. These guys aren't just athletes, they're personalities, and the more we understand why two fighters are going to war, the more invested we are when that cage door closes. It's not about trash talk, it's about stakes. Give us real promo videos, not just highlight clips, but background, training footage, personal struggles, gym rivalries, team politics. Something that makes each fight more than just two guys swinging at each other. You can tailor it to the specific fights too. If there's bad blood, let's see them interact, get close, and really ignite the spark. If it's two veterans who respect each other, tell that story too. The fights are good, but without real promotion, they don't feel important. And that's a huge problem. Fix number 2. Let fighters actually be themselves. Right now, the UFC product feels so polished, so controlled, that it's almost sterile. Everyone wears the same gear. Everyone says the same lines. Every post-fight interview is a copy-paste of the last one. Every event looks pretty much the same. When the machine becomes so polished and effortless, yes, it flows smoothly, but you get too caught in the rhythm, and you start sanding down every edge and outlier until there's nothing left. Fighters aren't allowed to show real personality anymore, and it's killing fan connection. You want breakout stars? Let people stand out. Let them wear more custom shorts or have a bigger say in how they look. Let them choose any walkout music they want that actually means something, and let them have more elaborate walkouts. I'm not talking about Jimmy 8K on the Apex prelims entering on a throne held up by 14 strippers, male and female, that lasts for 10 minutes. But hell, why not? Let stars on the main card show who they are. Israel Adesanya had to beg to do his dancing sequences, and he was one of the UFC's biggest stars at the time, and it added something different to the events and made them memorable. Imagine that. Let them speak their minds without corporate breathing down their necks. If someone wants to be respectful, great. If someone wants to be wild and chaotic, even better. There's no single formula for what makes a fighter marketable. But if you suppress every bit of originality, you get what we have now. A bunch of great athletes who all kind of blend together. This is fighting, not the Olympics. People watch for the chaos and the characters. So let the characters breathe and let's get some theatrics back into the sport. Fix number 3. Stop clinging to the past. Start building the future. The UFC has this obsession with squeezing every last drop out of its aging legends. And while some of that is understandable, big names still move the needle. It's clearly holding the sport back. The most recent example being the debacle with John Jones and Tom Aspinall. I don't need to go into that right now, but that pretty much sums it up. We're constantly watching divisions stall out while someone waits for a 40-year-old to come back from an injury layoff. Meanwhile, Hungry contenders can't get a meaningful fight, and rising stars get zero spotlight. The solution? Shift the focus a bit, push the next wave of talent and the current up-and-coming superstars like Ilya, Islam, and JDM. Build them up with real stakes and real attention. If someone has a win streak and momentum, they should be fighting in co-mains and main events, not tucked away on fight night prelims, behind some aging veterans or Dana's pet projects. Yeah, changing of the guard can be good for the division. Yes, it's scary to lose some of the bigger names who fans recognize, but if you keep holding on to the aging stars who undeliver on their pre-fight promises, you risk the UFC turning into an elevated version of the GFL RIP. Building new stars isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Right now, there's a dangerous gap between the top tier of established names and the up-and-comers who should be headlining in 2 years. That gap needs to close, fast, and don't get me wrong, the bigger name legends have their place, but they can't be put over newer talent or even the champions of the divisions. Fix number 4. Make big events feel big again. There was a time when a UFC pay-per-view felt like a moment. You'd look at the card and see names up and down, from the early prelims to the main event, that made you want to tune in from start to finish. Now, you're lucky if a PPV has 2 fights you actually care about, and the rest feels like filler straight off a Contender Series audition tape. The UFC has gone from building events to simply filling quotas. Too many cards, too few stars, and far too many matchups where even hardcore fans are squinting at the names going, wait, who's that? It's not about fight quality, there are still good scraps, but the cards lack gravitas because they lack name value. When the main card of a pay-per-view has 1 ranked fighter and 3 guys with 7 followers between them, it doesn't matter how technically sound the action is. It doesn't feel like a big deal. The solution? Less quantity, more quality. The UFC should focus on building tentpole events, massive, can't-miss cards every 6 to 8 weeks that are stacked with major names they have promoted well from top to bottom. Not just 1 title fight and a decent co-main. I'm talking 3, 4, even 5 meaningful matchups featuring top contenders, returning stars, rising prospects, fights with actual implications. Make those events matter, space them out, promote them like crazy, use the rest of the calendar to build toward those nights. That's how you create momentum. That's how you get fans to care about the storylines and divisions again, because right now, the UFC is running so many events with so little firepower that everything blends together. When every week is fight night, no week feels special. Even the famed International Fight Week has been a dud the past few years. Not always the UFC's fault, but if you prop up events with 1 or 2 headliners and someone slips on a banana peel, it's going to damage the product when there is nothing to fall back on. If the UFC wants to feel like the global leader in combat sports, the events need to reflect that, starting with fewer, bigger, and better fight cards that actually make people mark their calendars. Fix number 5. Make the sport more affordable. Let's be real, watching the UFC has become ridiculously expensive. You've got to pay for a monthly subscription, then pay $80 for each pay-per-view. If you want to go to a live event, good luck. Ticket prices are out of control. You'd think you were going to see the Beatles, not a prelim with 4 late replacements, and a guy making his debut from Dana's Contender Series. This pricing model is punishing loyal fans. If the UFC wants to keep growing, it needs to rethink how it charges people. Offer bundles. Introduce a proper fight pass that includes at least a few pay-per-views a year. Give fans better value. And when the current broadcast deal ends, whenever that is, consider moving to a platform that isn't built like it was coded in 2007. This isn't just about convenience, it's about respect. Respect for the people who show up every weekend, watch every card, and keep this machine running. Right now, those fans are getting squeezed for everything they're worth, and they're starting to notice. The UFC would rather put the Nelk boys in the front row for free than give the loyal fans who have been supporting them for 30 years a break. The UFC isn't beyond saving, not even close, but it's drifting fast, and the longer they pretend everything's fine, the harder it'll be to win people back. These 5 changes aren't complicated. Promote fights properly. Let fighters show personality. Push new stars, not just old ones, and make events feel big again. Stop gouging fans. If the UFC starts doing even some of this, things could turn around quickly. The talent is there, the fans are still here, the interest hasn't gone anywhere. But the UFC needs to start acting like it wants to be the best fight promotion in the world again, not just the biggest. Anyway, that's the video. Let me know in the comments what you would change to fix the UFC. What's the one thing that's driving you crazy lately? Like the video if you found yourself nodding along, and if you haven't subscribed yet, hit the button. I'll be here every week, watching, critiquing, and still holding out hope that this sport can get back to being great. See you in the next one.